In this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust a mechanical front derailleur, also referred to as a front mech or a front changer. The process that I'll show you will apply to whether or not you're installing a brand new front derailleur or if you're just making adjustments to an existing one. So let's get started. The first two adjustments we need to check can actually be done at the same time, and that is how high the derailleur is, and then also making sure it's parallel with the chainring. So as far as the height, the outer plate of the front derailleur needs to be about 2 to 3 millimeters above the top tooth of the outer chainring, the biggest chainring. Now, if it's a brand new front derailleur, you're going to have most likely this guide to show you that there needs to be about a 2 to 3 millimeter gap, again, between the bottom of the outer plate and then the top tooth here. And once you get that set, we're going to also check to make sure the front derailleur is parallel with the chainring. So looking at the front derailleur from behind the bike, you can see you don't want it twisted out too far and you don't want it twisted in too far. Again, you want this plate to be parallel with your chain rings. So your front derailleur is going to have a few different ways it connects to the bike. One may be a clamp that goes around the seat tube, or it may be a direct mount, also referred to as a braze-on front derailleur. So you may have a metal piece that is directly mounted to the seat tube and you won't have this collar. Now if it has a collar, you can loosen the collar, move it up and down, move it back and forth, again to get the height set correctly and then make sure it's parallel. You can also do it with this bolt here, especially if it's a braze-on, you have to do it with this bolt. So again, we're just going to make that adjustment by moving the derailleur and getting it set. Okay, so I've got it set, and you'll notice I'm doing this right now without the chain on. These adjustments can be made with or without the chain on. If it's a new front derailleur, it is easier slightly to do this without the chain on. Once I've got everything set, so again the height and it's parallel, then I can tighten everything down. I'll go ahead and remove this sticker. I don't need that anymore. The next adjustment that we're going to make is the cable tension, and you want to have the cable so there's not much slack. If there's a little bit of slack, we can take it out with the barrel adjusters, which is going to be either in line or up at the shifter, especially if it's a mountain bike. So what you can do is you can either loosen it here by loosening the pinch bolt, and every derailleur is different, so I'm not going to go much into how to do the pinch bolts. But for this one, it's at the top, and so I can actually push the derailleur over towards the big chain ring and take out some slack that way, and then just kind of hold tension on it and then tighten, and that will take out slack. And again, you don't have to take out every bit of slack. Sometimes you want just a little bit of slack, but we can take out the remaining slack with the barrel adjusters. So for this gravel bike, it's got a barrel adjuster, and as I turn this, it's going to separate the barrel adjuster and take out slack. Sometimes you might have the barrel adjuster up at the shifter, like on a mountain bike. So on a mountain bike, I can take out slack by turning the barrel adjuster at the shifter counterclockwise. That's going to back it out and take out that slack in the cable. The next adjustment that we're going to make are our limit screws. The limit screws will be in various places depending on your front derailleur. This one has the limit screws here. Usually you'll see an L and an H. This is the L for this one, this is the H for this one. The L limit screw will adjust how far the derailleur goes towards the bike or how far it sits off the smallest chain ring, the lowest gear, and then the H will determine how far the derailleur can come this way, so how far it sits off of the highest gear or the biggest chainring. We're going to adjust the L limit screw first, the low limit screw, and the first thing that we want to do is want to shift to the smallest chainring using the front derailleur, and then on the rear derailleur we want to shift to the largest cog. So that's going to be this one closest to the wheel. So I'm going to shift up one more and put the chain in the largest cog in the back. You can see right now that that inner plate is touching the chain on the left side of the chain. We're going to adjust the limit screw. We're going to basically turn it counterclockwise so that the derailleur goes that way. And what you want to do is you want to make sure there's about a 1, maybe 2 millimeter gap between the chain and the plate, the inner plate, by adjusting the L screw. So I'm going to turn this L screw again. I'm going to turn it counterclockwise, and this one uses a 3 millimeter or a 2 millimeter wrench. Now, if you adjust this and it's just not turning, so this one's turning pretty well, But if you turn it and it's backing out quite a bit and it's still not moving it far enough, you may have to take out some tension in the cable. So you may have too much tension in that cable. But in this case, it looks like the tension is good. I'm able to get a 1 millimeter gap between the inner plate and the left side of the chain. Now it's time to adjust the H screw. And what we want to do is we want to shift the front derailleur into the largest cog or largest chain ring. And we want to shift the rear derailleur into the smallest cog. Sometimes it's easier actually to shift the rear derailleur first if the chain will not go onto your largest chain ring in the front. Okay, so I've got it in the smallest cog in the rear and I've got it on the largest chain ring. Just like the L screw and the inner plate, we want to adjust the H screw in the outer plate so that it sits 1 millimeter off of the chain ring. Now what I need to do here is I need to make it move this way, so away from the bike. So I've got to turn that limit screw, that H screw, clockwise, and that's going to push the front derailleur away from the chain, and I'm going to keep turning that until I have a 1 millimeter gap. It may be hard to see in the video, but I want about a 1 millimeter gap between the right side of the chain and the inside of this outer plate, the right plate of the front derailleur. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to give it just a little bit more turn, because what can happen if the gap is not big enough, sometimes it'll seem right in the work stand, but then when you get out and pedal on the road, just the forces you put in the cranks will cause a little bit of flex in the frame, and you can still get some chain rub. So I would say get a millimeter gap. If you get some chain rub when you're sprinting, then you may want to turn that limit screw like maybe another quarter turn. This is a crucial adjustment. Both of these are crucial because you can have the chain actually fall off the chain rings if you have too much of a gap. All right, so that's how you adjust the front derailleur. I'll mention a couple other things about the cable tension. So if the derailleur is just not shifting into the largest chain ring, even after backing out that high limit screw so that you have enough gap, the cable tension is going to be too loose and you got to tighten it. On the contrary, if the chain is just not dropping down into the smallest chain ring, despite adjusting the low limit screw, that means you've got too much tension in your cable and you've got to back it out. The easiest way, like I showed you before, is with those barrel adjusters. If the barrel adjuster is all the way in other words, you've taken out as much slack as you can and you need to take out more slack, then you're going to have to undo the pinch bolt. On the flip side, if you've backed the barrel adjuster all the way out, and sometimes it'll actually come out unthread all the way, and it's still not shifting over far enough, then you've got too much slack and you've got to adjust the pinch bolt. If you do that, what I want you to do is tighten the barrel adjuster all the way clockwise, all the way in, and then adjust it with the pinch bolt, and then you can tweak it with the barrel adjuster. So that is how you adjust a mechanical front derailleur of a bike. Click right here for a video of how to adjust a rear derailleur. If this video was helpful for you, please give it a thumbs up for me. That does help out my channel. Any questions or comments, drop those below. Thanks for watching.